Hi everyone, thanks for joining me on another one of my interesting and illuminating podcasts. Today, the disingenuous piece of shit known as Peter Dutton has decided to perform his best version of himself by moving a motion against the Prime Minister today. The effort he made was simply to be able to say that the Prime Minister has not been able to reveal all of the plans in relation to The Voice. Personally, I don't see how the Prime Minister could be more clearer than what he is. I just want to highlight a couple of bits, and I'll play you the first bit of Dutton's speech when he moved this motion, which he did happen to do during question time, which is quite understandable given the question time really wasn't going anywhere for the Liberal Party at that particular point. So he decided, well, let's just move this motion. Let's see whether we can kick along the debate a little bit more. And let's see whether or not we can, at the end of the day, divide the country even further. It was a great effort by Dutton. I don't know whether it would be successful or not. However, it is worth noting the Sky News on their YouTube channel played the 12-minute Dutton speech, but didn't, as far as I can tell, play the response from Albanese. So the motion gets moved by the second person, which was Littleproud, who seconded it, and then Albanese could have a response for a couple of minutes. I'll tell you what Albanese did have to say, but first let's listen to what this disgraceful individual Dutton had to say at the beginning of his movement of this motion.
Honourable the Leader of the Opposition. Order. Members on my right.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. I seek leave to move the following motion. That the House, 1, notes that the Prime Minister is dividing the nation with his divisive voice proposal by deliberately refusing to provide detail to the Australian people. 2, notes that the...
I just see that, as I'll often say about many of these issues, I just see that as projection. He's the one, he and his party are the ones that are dividing the nation, and I'll tell you why in just a moment.
The Prime Minister promised on 34 occasions to implement the Uluru Statement from the Heart in full, which includes the Makarrata Commission's national treaty-making process, but has since continually denied that there will be a treaty. 3, notes that the Minister for Indigenous Australians said work on a treaty was to start within weeks, but the Prime Minister is now walking that back. In 2 train wreck media interviews, the Prime Minister is telling different audiences different things on the treaty. 4, notes that despite the Prime Minister being shifty on whether a treaty is being worked on, he's already allocated $5.8 million for the Makarrata Commission national treaty-making process, but refuses to explain how $900,000 of this money has already been spent. 5, notes that the government's Minister for Indigenous Australians has treated this House with absolute contempt by repeatedly and consistently failing to answer direct questions in question time.
Now, I'm not going to play all that much more because I do find that this man is somewhat of an embarrassment, but the point is that with regard to Linda Burney, she has been asked over and over about the Makarrata Commission and what that means. And this is because the Labor Party have decided not actually to play the Liberal Party game, and the Liberal Party don't like that one iota. So the Makarrata Commission really is an effort to be able to fulfil the other obligations of the Uluru Statement of the Heart. Now, the first part of that is the voice. And to be fair, this is what the referendum is to be focused on. It is not about treaty and sovereignty and the other things that were part of the Uluru Statement of the Heart. It is just about that. But the Liberal Party, who are really keen to make sure that this is Albanese's greatest failure, are determined to turn this into a political battle, which they are hoping upon hope that they will become victors in. I'm hoping that the Australian people will see this for what it is, a sideshow that the Liberal Party are putting on in order to play politics with this issue and demolish as best as they can one of the best Prime Ministers we've had for a long, long, long time. So the issue that was made was that how much does this cost? Where's the money going for the McGrady Commission? What does the McGrady Commission mean? And whether or not it has any value, if it means at the end of the day that treaty and sovereignty are going to be some of those things which the McGrady Commission will be discussing. There is no way that any of the things that may even come out of the McGrady Commission makes the government obligated to follow through on. But nevertheless, it is something which the Liberal Party are using to target Albanese and Labor Party. Now, it was interesting though, and this wasn't played on Sky News, and I know why, when Albanese got up to speak after Dutton and Littleproud spoke, he mentioned a few significant factors in relation to their voice to Parliament. The most important one he mentioned, I thought, and it was a shame that they didn't play this because it was a well-crafted, if impromptu, speech by Anthony Albanese, and that was that the man who was accusing him of not being able to identify what the McGrady Commission was all about, and also the man that said, well, we are, as a party, we are in favour of the voice. And if it wasn't for these additional things that came out of the Uluru Statement, we would be supporting you. This would be a bipartisan event, but because you've got these other things happening, we can't support it. But we do support the voice. We do support recognition of Indigenous people. This seems to be important for Dutton and Littleproud and others. However, Albanese raised one significant point, and that was that when Rudd gave the apology to the stolen generation, it was then that Dutton, who was full of disdain and disrespect for Indigenous people, he walked out and has never apologised for having done so. It is also important to note that Albanese and Bernie have both invited Dutton and Susan Lee to attend the conference up in the Northern Territory at Ghana Festival over the weekend. They have, to this point, as far as I understand it, declined. They won't engage with this issue. They will not talk to the Indigenous people who actually want this issue to be resolved through the referendum. So they're not prepared to engage. They are continually criticising the Labor Party for the McGrady Commission and for anything else that the Labor Party might be doing in order to make this right for Indigenous people. But they are fighting it to divide us. This is their... So when we hear Dutton talk about using this is Albanese dividing, this is projection. This is in reality, it is about Dutton and the Liberal Party needing to make this issue political so that they can win over votes, so that when it comes to the next election, they think they'll be in a better position to win. They won't, because they'll still have Peter Dutton as their leader, and he's one of the most disliked individuals in this country to this point. So that's not going to happen unless they change leaders. Who else have they got? Susan Lee, heaven forbid. But the reality is that as long as Dutton attempts to use this to divide politically, the Australian people will become more and more aware of what he is doing, and they will fight against it, and eventually the referendum will be passed. And I'm looking forward to that day. Now, mark my words, come back and talk to me about it if it fails. I'll be happy to have that conversation and talk about why. But if it wins, I don't know what Sky News are ever going to be able to do with that. They seem to struggle when the Labor Party won the last election and won elections in Victoria and New South Wales. So who knows what they're going to do if this referendum actually goes through. And certainly we must remember that I think one of the most important things is what this would mean to Indigenous people if it didn't go through. That is really something that we need to hold on to. What happens beyond that in terms of the Commission and treaty and other issues will be fought out in Parliament. We will have our say through our parliamentarians over that, and we can do whatever protesting we think we need to do. But at the moment, it's just about the voice in the referendum. It's just about recognition. And why is that too hard? And why is it so hard for the Liberal Party to understand that if they're in favour of that, allow that to go through and we can sort out the other shit later on. If you don't like it, you can sort it out. The problem that they have is that they believe that they're so powerless in Parliament, both the House of Representatives and the Senate, that even if they objected strongly to whatever happens beyond the voice in terms of legislation, they're likely to lose that battle as well. And they cannot allow their souls to be destroyed in such a way. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please remember, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. That would be certainly greatly appreciated. Leave a comment below, and if you wish to contact me on this email address, and I will get back to you as well. Let's have the conversation. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being with me. I really do appreciate it. Take care, look after yourselves, and be safe.